The Valari Empire stretched across the stars like a shining crown. Their cities floated on crystal platforms, their ships glided through space with elegance, and their traditions had lasted for thousands of years without change. Among them was Princess Lysera, the only heir to the Valari throne. She was respected, admired, and feared for her sharp mind and unyielding pride. On the morning of the council meeting, Lysera walked into the Hall of Starlight. The chamber was vast, with silver, walls and glowing lights that looked like constellations. The elders of the empire stood waiting, their robes shimmering with authority. Lysera bowed slightly, though her eyes remained steady. "What matter brings us here today?" she asked. High Chancellor Saravel stepped forward. His voice was calm but heavy. "Your Highness, the Council has decided on a union that will shape the future of our empire. To prevent conflict and build trust, you are to marry a representative of the human race." The words fell like a stone into silence. Lysera's expression hardened. "A human?" she repeated, her voice sharp as glass. "You ask me, heir to Valari blood, to bind myself to a primitive species barely learning to cross the stars?" The council members shifted uneasily, but Saravel held his ground. "Yes, the humans grow in number and influence. Many species see potential in them. If we stand apart, we risk war. If we unite, we gain strength. This marriage will ensure peace." Lysera's wings, delicate and silver, flared slightly in anger. Peace at the cost of dignity is not peace. It is surrender. "Not surrender," the Chancellor replied gently. "Wisdom. You are the chosen voice of our people. They will follow your example." For the first time in years, Lysera felt the weight of duty pressing against her heart. She wanted to shout, to refuse, but the elders' faces told her that the decision had already been made. The choice was not hers. It was the Empire's. She left the chamber without another word, her steps echoing through the grand hall. Outside, she stood on the balcony staring at the stars. Somewhere among those countless lights lived the one she was being forced to marry. The thought filled her with cold anger. Far away, on Earth, another life was about to change. Captain Elias Ward had seen many battles. He had served in the Earth Defense Forces for over a decade, guarding colonies and leading missions at the edges of known space. He was not a man who dreamed of politics or ceremony. He preferred the silence of space, the discipline of command. So, when his commanding officer summoned him, he expected orders for another mission. Instead, he found a room full of officials in dark suits, their faces grim. "Captain Ward," one of them said, "you have been selected to represent humanity in a matter of interstellar diplomacy." Elias frowned. "Selected for what?" The answer came with the weight of history. "A marriage alliance with the Valari Empire." For a moment, he thought it was a cruel joke, but the officials were serious. They explained how the Valari were powerful, how their alliance could shield Earth from rival empires, how this union could mean survival for humanity. Elias shook his head. "I'm a soldier, not a politician, and certainly not a pawn in a royal marriage." The eldest official leaned forward. "Captain, you are respected among your people, strong, disciplined, unshaken by fear. The Valari admire strength and you embody it. That is why you were chosen. You will not go as a pawn but as humanity's equal." Elias wanted to refuse, but his sense of duty held him still. If his acceptance meant peace for billions, how could he turn away? "I'll go," he said at last, his voice steady. "But not as a puppet. If they want to see humanity, they will see us as we are, proud and unbroken." The officials nodded, relieved. The arrangements were set. Within days, Elias would be carried aboard a Valari vessel to meet the princess who had already judged him unworthy. Back in the Valari capital, Lysera prepared for the ceremonial introduction. She stood before her mirror, dressed in robes of silver and blue, her crown resting lightly on her brow. Servants adjusted her attire, but her mind was elsewhere. She imagined the human she would soon meet. Weak, clumsy, perhaps trembling at the sight of her. The very thought made her lips curl in disdain. Yet somewhere deep inside, hidden beneath layers of pride, was a flicker of curiosity. She had read reports about humans. Their history was full of wars and struggles, but also of invention and persistence. They were a species that refused to break, even when the universe pressed against them. Lysera shook her head, brushing the thought away. Curiosity was dangerous. It softened the will. She would face this human with cold dignity, and she would not yield. Outside the palace, the Valari citizens gathered, whispering about the marriage. Some were excited about the alliance, others whispered of disgrace. All eyes were on their princess, and, far across the stars, Captain Elias Ward looked out from the viewport of the ship, carrying him to the Valari homeworld. His jaw was set, his eyes firm. He did not know the princess, nor did he care for her opinion of him. He came as himself, nothing more, nothing less. Two lives, two worlds, were on the edge of collision. Neither wanted this union. Both carried pride and fire in their hearts. But destiny, written among the stars, had already begun to weave them together. The great hall of the Valari Palace was a sight to behold. Light cascaded from crystal chandeliers, reflecting across walls of polished silver. The floor shimmered like a frozen lake, and the high ceiling arched into infinity. Members of the council, nobles and attendants lined the hall in perfect rows. They had waited decades to witness this moment, the meeting of Valari royalty with the human representative. Princess Lysera stepped forward, her silver robes flowing behind her. Her wings extended slightly, a silent signal of her authority. Her eyes were sharp, assessing every detail of the room, every glance from the council. But beneath her calm, a storm of thoughts churned. How could she marry a human? How could she yield Valari dignity for the sake of peace? The massive doors at the far end of the hall opened. A hush fell over the gathered crowd. A figure entered. His steps were steady, his back straight. His uniform was simple, yet it spoke of discipline and honor. Captain Elias Ward walked into the room with a quiet confidence, unshaken by the alien grandeur surrounding him. Lysera's eyes fixed on him. Immediately, she had expected weakness, hesitation, fear. She had imagined trembling hands and nervous glances, but what she saw stopped her in her tracks. Elias's gaze met hers without flinching. His posture was firm, his presence unyielding. He was not intimidated. For a brief moment, time seemed to pause. The room felt smaller. The chatter of the attendants and whispers of nobles vanished. All Lysera could do was stare. Something deep inside stirred, a mixture of surprise, confusion, and an unfamiliar sense of admiration. She had not expected a human to carry himself with such grace and strength. Elias, too, noticed her. The Valari princess before him radiated authority, yet there was tension in her stance. He did not bow as the Valari tradition demanded. Instead, he inclined his head slightly, a gesture of respect without surrender. "Princess Lysera," he said clearly, his voice calm, "I am Captain Elias Ward. I come as a representative of Earth and humanity." Lysera's lips pressed together. His voice was steady, yet not arrogant. "You are brave," she said, almost as if testing him. "Most would quake before the presence of Valari royalty." "I do not quake," Elias replied, meeting her eyes. "I have come not to challenge you, but to represent my people honestly. We are strong, resilient, and unbroken. That is all I ask you to see." Whispers ran through the hall. Humans were thought to be fragile, incapable of standing in Valari halls without fear. Yet this one spoke with calm certainty. The nobles exchanged looks of disbelief. Some were intrigued, others suspicious, but all felt the tension in the room. Lysera, regaining her composure, straightened her wings. "Words are easy," she said, her tone icy. "We will see if your actions match them. The Valari value skill, intelligence, and discipline. Can a human truly prove these qualities? Elias nodded. I am ready to demonstrate. The council had anticipated this moment. Test chambers were prepared beyond the hall, rooms designed to evaluate both intellect and combat skill. Lysera would decide if humanity's representative could meet Valari standards. It was meant to embarrass him to show the superiority of Valari blood. As Lysera led him to the first chamber, she studied him closely. There was something unusual about him. He did not fidget. He did not bow excessively. He met her gaze like an equal. The thought irritated her and unexpectedly fascinated her. The first test was one of logic. Valari challenges often required precise calculations, spatial reasoning, and rapid adaptation. Lysera presented a complex sequence of symbols that shifted constantly, a puzzle designed to confuse and intimidate. Elias studied it silently. Instead of following Valari patterns, he approached it differently, using lateral thinking and intuition. Slowly, he solved the puzzle in ways the council had not anticipated. Lysera's eyes widened. He was clever, but in a human way, unexpected, unpredictable. Next came physical training. Lysera led him to the combat chamber. Valari warriors were agile, swift, and precise. The walls were lined with simulated opponents and obstacles. She assumed Elias would fail quickly, but he adapted. He did not move like a Valari, yet he moved effectively. He used timing, observation, and creativity. Every step was calculated, every decision thoughtful. Lysera watched. The sun rose over the crystal towers of the Valari capital, casting long beams of light that danced across the silver streets. Princess Lysera stood in the training arena, her wings folded tightly behind her. Today would be a test of skill, one that she had designed herself. She would prove that no human could ever match the precision and strength of Valari warriors. Captain Elias Ward waited at the center of the arena. He had trained for many years in Earth's military, but nothing could have prepared him for Valari combat. He glanced at Lysera, noting the sharpness in her eyes, the calm confidence in her stance. She was a warrior born and bred, and this test would push him to his limits. Human, Lysera said, her voice carrying across the arena. Today you will face Valari combat challenges. Do not expect mercy. I will not hold back. I expect no mercy, Elias replied. His jaw tightened. I will do my best, and that is all I can promise. Lysera's first test was agility. She activated a series of floating platforms moving in unpredictable patterns. The platforms shifted with speed and precision, leaving little room for error. Valari warriors would leap from one to another effortlessly, their reflexes honed by decades of training. Elias hesitated for a moment, then studied the movement carefully. He noticed a pattern, not in the way she intended, but in the timing of the shifts. Using careful observation, he timed his jumps. His body was not as fast as a Valari's, but his mind was quick. He found the rhythm, landing on each platform with surprising accuracy. Lysera raised an eyebrow. Interesting, she thought. He adapts instead of following rules. Next came combat. Lysera wielded twin energy blades, their edges glowing faintly. She moved like a storm, fast and precise, testing Elias at every angle. Valari strikes were designed to be flawless. There was no wasted motion, no hesitation. A single error could end the match. Elias did not have the same training, but he had something else. He observed her movements, predicting her attacks in unconventional ways. He dodged and parried, not with perfection, but with creativity. He used momentum, misdirection, and careful timing. Each move surprised Lysera, who had expected him to falter. Your moves are unusual, she said, her voice tight, but effective. Elias smiled faintly, panting. I do what I can with what I have. The council observed in silence. Humans had been underestimated for centuries. Now one human was proving that strength and skill could take many forms. The nobles exchanged whispers, Some were shocked, some intrigued, but all were forced to reconsider their assumptions. After combat, Lysera presented a challenge of strategy. Holographic simulations appeared around them, depicting a series of complex military scenarios. Valari, warriors excelled in strategy, relying on precise calculations and predictable logic. Lysera expected Elias to struggle, but he approached the challenge differently. Instead of following Valari methods, Elias considered the possibilities from a human perspective. He proposed unconventional solutions, ones that no Valari would have predicted. The holographic simulations responded, showing successful outcomes. Lysera felt a sting of surprise. This human was not only strong but clever, and clever in a way that defied her expectations. "You think differently," she said. Her voice was quieter now, almost reluctant. "It seems your kind may have some value after all." "I think anyone can surprise you," Elias replied. "Even you." Lysera's wings twitched slightly. She did not answer, but her mind raced. This human challenged everything she believed about strength, skill, and pride. She had prepared herself to dismiss him, to show him his place. Instead, she found herself watching closely, learning and, though she refused to admit it, admiring. The final test was endurance. Lysera led Elias to a chamber designed to push limits of stamina and resilience. The air was thin, the gravity slightly higher than normal, and obstacles constantly changed. Most humans would collapse within minutes. Yet Elias endured. He struggled, yes, but he never gave up. Every movement was precise, every decision measured. He adapted, adjusted, and continued forward. Lysera followed him silently, impressed despite herself. She realized that strength was not only in speed, skill, or agility. It was in persistence, determination, and the refusal to yield. Humans, she thought reluctantly, possessed qualities that Valari had long forgotten. When the tests ended, the council gathered once more. They expected Lysera to declare Elias a failure. Instead, she spoke with a measured voice, one that carried both authority and unexpected respect. "Captain Elias Ward has completed every test," she said. "He has faced challenges beyond what most humans could endure. His methods are different, but effective. I do not yet know if he is ready for the responsibilities of this alliance, but he has shown qualities worthy of consideration." A murmur of surprise spread through the chamber. Lysera had never praised anyone publicly, let alone a human. Elias bowed slightly. "Thank you, Princess Lysera. I only did what I could to show my people's resilience." Lysera's eyes lingered on him. For the first time, she felt a curious respect. This human did not beg for approval or rely on charm. He relied on himself, and that was something rare, even among the Valari. The moment was quiet, but charged. Both realized that their meeting had changed something fundamental. Neither expected friendship, yet an unspoken understanding had begun to form. Two proud souls, from two very different worlds, had found common ground, not in similarity, but in mutual recognition of strength and courage. As Elias prepared to leave the arena, Lysera spoke one last time. "Do not think that this changes anything," she said, her voice firm but softer than before. "You have survived my tests, but the world outside will be far more complicated. Strength alone will not be enough." "I understand," Elias replied, "but I am willing to try." Outside, the sun continued its rise, casting gold across the crystal towers. The city of Valari gleamed like a jewel, a reminder of tradition, pride, and power. Yet within the palace, two hearts and minds had glimpsed the spark of something new, a connection born from challenge, respect, and unexpected admiration. The first clash of pride had ended, but the story was only beginning. In the days to come, more tests would follow, not only of skill and strength, but of character, trust, and understanding. And neither Lysera nor Elias could know how profoundly this clash of pride would shape the future of both their worlds. The calm of the Valari capital was shattered by a sudden alarm. Red lights flashed across the silver streets, and the deep hum of the city's power grids pulsed with urgency. Princess Lysera, still in the palace after training with Elias, turned toward the source. "Report," she demanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. A messenger arrived, panting. "Your Highness, the Dravari have attacked one of our outer colonies. They are armed with energy weapons and have already breached the outer defenses. We need immediate action." Lysera's eyes narrowed. The Dravari were a ruthless species, known across the galaxy for destruction and conquest. They had attacked Valari territories before, but never so close to the capital. This was no ordinary raid. It was a threat to the heart of the Empire. She turned to Elias, who had been watching quietly. "We must go. Will you accompany me?" Elias studied the situation, noting the strategy of the Dravari forces. "If we can coordinate, I can help lead the defense," he said. "We should act quickly. Delay will cost lives." Lysera hesitated. The council had ordered evacuation, not engagement. To defy protocol was dangerous. Yet something in her stirred. She could not leave her people vulnerable, and this human, she trusted him, at least more than she would admit. "Very well," she said. "We act together. But remember, this is not a test. Lives are at stake." The pair boarded a sleek Valari fighter, its engines roaring as it launched into space. Elias took the co-pilot seat, scanning the incoming Dravari fleet. Despite the vast difference in their worlds, communication was effortless. Elias had learned quickly, adapting to Valari technology with the same ingenuity he had shown in training. They approached the colony. Explosions lit the dark void of space. Small Valari defense ships were being destroyed, and Dravari boarding pods descended toward the planetary surface. The situation was critical. Lysera's hands moved with precision across the control panels, directing reinforcements and shielding civilians. Elias analyzed patterns in the enemy attack. "If we cut off their main energy supply, we can weaken their assault," he said. Lysera glanced at him. "And risk ourselves in the process?" Elias's eyes met hers. "We have no choice if we want to save the colony." She made a split-second decision. "Do it." Together they executed a daring maneuver. Lysera piloted the fighter with unmatched skill, weaving between enemy ships while Elias used the navigation and weapon systems to target the Dravari energy nodes. Every moment was tense. A single misstep could mean death. Despite the danger, Elias remained calm, calculating the angles, timing the strikes, and predicting enemy movements. Lysera was impressed. His human creativity complemented her Valari precision. They moved as a team instinctively, though they had known each other only briefly. The Dravari were relentless, but the duo's strategy worked. Explosions rocked the colony as the enemy's energy supplies were destroyed, crippling their assault. Valari reinforcements, guided by Lysera's commands, began pushing the attackers back. On the ground, Valari soldiers cheered as the Dravari retreated. Civilians ran to safety. The Valari capital had returned to its usual calm. Streets gleamed in the sunlight, towers reflected the golden light, and life moved as if the recent Dravari attack had been a distant nightmare. Yet inside Princess Lysera's chambers, the atmosphere was far from peaceful. She paced silently, her thoughts tangled. The events of the past days had shaken everything she believed. Captain Elias Ward was more than a human representative. He was clever, brave, and unyielding. He had faced her challenges, matched her in combat, and proven his skill in ways she could not have imagined. Yet even as she acknowledged his qualities, pride and duty whispered that she could not allow herself to feel anything more. Her mind returned to the first moment she had seen him. The calm, unbroken gaze of a human who refused to bow too low had startled her. For a fleeting second she had felt respect, perhaps even admiration. She had dismissed it quickly, but the feeling lingered like a shadow at the edge of her thoughts. Elias, unaware of the storm in her mind, prepared to leave the capital. The official ceremonies marking the end of his mission were to begin, and he believed his role as humanity's representative was complete. He had served with honor, aided in the defense of the colony, and survived every test the Valari could devise. Now it was time to return home. When Lysera learned of his impending departure, a strange tension gripped her chest. She could not let him leave without speaking to him, without confronting the feelings she had spent days denying. Pride warred with her heart, but ultimately, her heart won. She found him in the palace garden, standing beneath the twin moons, gazing at the city below. The soft light reflected off the silver towers and a gentle breeze stirred the air. Lysera approached, keeping her voice steady. "Captain Ward," she began, "before you leave, there is something we must discuss." Elias turned, surprised, but calm. "Princess Lysera, I did not expect to see you here." "Neither did I," she admitted. "Yet I could not let you go without speaking. There are matters personal that cannot wait." He studied her closely, sensing the unusual seriousness in her tone. "I am listening." Lysera took a deep breath. "When we first met, I believed humans to be weak. I believed that you would falter, that you would not survive the tests, the challenges, or even the simplest expectations of Valari society, and yet you proved me wrong." Elias remained silent, letting her continue. "Your courage, your determination, your integrity, they are unlike anything I expected. I have spent my life judging others by tradition and strength, yet you have shown me that there is more to power than what I was taught." Her voice softened, and for a moment, vulnerability broke through the princess's carefully maintained composure. "I never sought to impress," Elias said quietly. "I only wanted to do my duty. But you have done more than that," Lysera replied. Her wings twitched, betraying the emotions she tried to hide. "And I feel something I do not fully understand. When I first saw you, I froze, not because of anger or fear, but because I sensed something extraordinary, something in you that I had never seen before." Elias's eyes widened slightly. He had sensed her hesitation, her unusual attention, but hearing her words left him unprepared. I did not expect that," he admitted. "I have respected you since our first meeting. I have seen your strength, your skill, and your wisdom. But I did not know. You felt the same." Lysera's gaze dropped for a moment, then rose, to meet his again. "I did not want to feel it. I wanted to reject it, to remain true to my pride and my duties. But the truth cannot be denied." A quiet passed between them, filled with understanding and unspoken emotions. Two worlds, two hearts had collided, and in that collision, something fragile and extraordinary had begun. Elias stepped closer. "Princess Lysera, I never imagined I would feel this way, but I do. I have admired your courage, your leadership, and the way you face every challenge without fear. You are unlike anyone I have ever met." Lysera felt a warmth in her chest, a sensation both thrilling and frightening. She had spent her life ruling, planning, and obeying tradition. Yet here was a human who had earned her respect, her admiration, and, if she was honest, a piece of her heart. "What do we do now?" she asked softly. "We choose," Elias said simply. "We choose what matters most. Honor, duty, tradition. They are important, but sometimes the heart knows more than the mind, and sometimes we have to follow it." Lysera nodded slowly, absorbing the truth of his words. She had spent years living by rules and expectations, yet this human, brief as their time together had been, had shown her a new path. One of mutual respect, shared strength, and unexpected connection. "I choose," she said finally. "I choose to see you not as a representative, not as a stranger, but as someone I trust, someone I respect, someone I care for." Elias's expression softened, relief and joy mixing in his features. "Then I choose the same." For a long moment, they stood beneath the twin moons, two beings from vastly different worlds, united not by obligation, but by choice. They understood that their bond would not be easy. Their peoples would expect tradition, obedience, and careful alliances. But for now they had made a decision that mattered to both of them, a choice born of admiration, courage, and the quiet realization that the heart sometimes knows its path before the mind can follow. The council, observing from a distance, remained unaware of the depth of the connection forming between human and princess. They saw duty fulfilled and peace maintained. But Lysera and Elias knew something far more important had begun, a partnership forged in challenge, respect, and the recognition of shared strength. That night, the Valari capital shimmered under the stars, quiet and peaceful once more. Yet beneath the calm, two hearts had found alignment, and the story of two worlds so different yet capable of extraordinary unity continued. The choice of the heart had been made, and with it came the promise of a future neither Lysera nor Elias could have imagined, but both were willing to face together. The Valari palace glittered under the twin suns, its towers casting long reflections across the crystal streets. Today was the day of the grand ceremony, the one meant to formalize the alliance between humans and the Valari Empire. The halls were filled with nobles, council members, and honored guests from across the galaxy. All eyes were on Princess Lysera, the heir to the throne and the human representative, Captain Elias Ward. Lysera walked with quiet grace, her silver robes flowing behind her. Her wings were folded elegantly, a symbol of her authority. She had spent days preparing her speech, her mind rehearsing every word that would honor tradition while also preserving her heart's newfound truth. Today, she would make a choice, not one dictated by politics or expectation, but by wisdom, courage, and understanding. Elias followed, calm and composed. He had adapted to Valari culture during his stay, learning their customs and language with remarkable speed. Yet he remained true to himself, the human who faced every challenge with determination, creativity, and honesty. The council and guests expected him to bow and recite formalities, but he did so with dignity, never losing the quiet strength that had first impressed Lysera. The ceremony began with speeches and formalities, as tradition demanded. High Chancellor Saravel spoke of duty, alliances, and the necessity of cooperation between species. The Valari nobles nodded, many still skeptical of the human representative. But all attention was on Lysera, the princess who would seal the bond. She stepped forward, her gaze sweeping across the assembled crowd. "Leaders of the Valari Empire," she began, her voice steady, "we gather here today to witness a union arranged to ensure peace and prosperity for our peoples. Tradition and protocol have guided us, but today, I will speak from the heart as well as from duty." A murmur passed through the hall. Guests leaned forward, sensing the importance of her words. "I have seen strength in a human, a species I once believed weak and unworthy of Valari consideration," she continued. "Captain Elias Ward has shown courage, intelligence, and resilience beyond expectation. He has faced challenges that many of us would falter before, and has adapted with skill, determination, and honor." Lysera's eyes found Elias in the crowd. He stood tall, calm, but attentive, meeting her gaze with quiet acknowledgement. She felt the warmth of shared respect, a bond forged in challenges and mutual understanding. "This union is not merely a political arrangement," Lysera said, her voice growing firmer. "It is a recognition that strength comes in many forms. Humanity has shown creativity, persistence, and courage, qualities that complement the wisdom, skill, and discipline of the Valari. Together, we are stronger than either could be alone." The hall was silent, the words resonating with those present. The Valari Council, once wary of humans, now looked on with a mix of awe and reconsideration. The human presence, long underestimated, had proven invaluable. Elias stepped forward as Lysera paused. "Princess Lysera," he said, his voice steady, "I am honored by your words. I never sought glory, but I have given my best to show the value of humanity. I will stand by your side, not only as a representative of my people, but as your equal, in the service of peace and cooperation. Lizara's heart quickened, but her expression remained composed. Captain Ward, your dedication, courage, and respect have earned not only my recognition but my trust. Today, I choose this alliance, not only because I believe in the potential of